Hey guys, King Kanji here, and today I am joined with a very special guest who's coming back for I haven't seen him in ages, I'm having a nice catch-up on this call, but I've got MJxTV with me. How you doing, MJ?
I am doing great, man. It's a pleasure to be back on the channel talking to you, man. I've missed you.
Yeah, I've missed you too, man. It's nice that we can get these brotherly bromance feelings out on air. But okay, so the reason for this video, guys, I'm sure you've read it in the title. I've been trying to come up with the way that I could end Super myself. So we know it's ending in March, and we need to think of the best possible way that it could end in a satisfying way. And so I'm going to run you guys through the way that I feel that it would work really well.
Bro, knowing you, I'll probably love everything you say.
Well, we've got the same taste in the way that things should go anyway, knowing on our wrestling predictions and stuff, so... I think Jiren and Toppo could be the last two survivors standing for Universe 11, and Vegeta and Frieza could be the last two fighting for Universe 7. They realised that the best way to survive without Goku would be to run out the timer, is to just run. And so you'd have Vegeta hiding behind some rocks and keeping his power level low, hoping that Jiren and Toppo won't find him in order to give him time to regain his stamina, and humbly admits that Goku's Ultra Instinct was their best shot at winning. But now that that's gone, all hope seems lost. Frieza marches up to Vegeta with a stern look on his face and says a quitter is not somebody that would thrive in the Frieza Force. Is this what you've succumbed to in all of your Saiyan pride? And Vegeta looks crushed and suddenly he has an epiphany. Vegeta realises that their best course of winning would be to keep running, something he'd hoped he'd never have to do with all of his pride on the line. But his family and his newborn baby daughter and everybody up in the bleachers' survival are counting on him. Vegeta and Frieza think up a plan to try and run down the timer to bring the match to a draw, because when the timer expires, whichever universe has the most warriors remaining will be the victor. Although they've thought up this plan and keep hidden from their own universe's spectators, Goku looks on from the bench, and with Beerus looking down, he's sort of like going, ugh, where are they? I can't find them, or whatever, because obviously there's so much rubble going on, and as they've got their power levels low, it's kind of harder for them to see him. Goku suddenly realises that they're trying to run out the clock and pipes up and yells, Vegeta and Frieza look... And yells about it, and Vegeta and Frieza look horrified that Goku just shouted their strategy out. And then you've got, incompetent fool! I will not perish by the likes of you again, Goku! Frieza is furious because of Goku's incompetence, and suddenly Vegeta grabs Frieza's tail and starts leaping from rock to rock at high speed, trying to evade Universe 11's remaining warriors. So that's kind of like, you know, what I've got is their strategy. I mean, how likely do you think that is?
No, I actually like that for one big reason, and that is the fact that we would actually get Vegeta and Frieza to kind of work together, and maybe not work together, but at least put their heads together, you know what I mean? I would love that so much just because of everything we've seen from Vegeta and Frieza, everything we know of Vegeta and Frieza and their history, and heck, even the manga pretty much blatantly put out the same exact quote as the anime, where they were basically talking trash to each other and making fun of the fact that Frieza has a halo now. So to see them actually working together, or like I said, at least putting their heads together to kind of just beat the clock. And I think it's very cool for Vegeta to come to the realization that they can't win, because a lot of people remember the Buu arc and how he came to the realization that, you know, they can't beat Buu, but they still have the trump card, the Genki Dama, even though it never worked before.
Yeah. So not even on Vegeta himself.
Not even on Vegeta himself. But he still had that idea that they could still win, even if it's not by their own power. So for Vegeta to kind of come to the realization here that no matter what they do, they can't win this, I think that's a huge revelation for him and his character. And yeah, beat the clock. I think that's a cool strategy.
Well, yeah, so, I mean, to carry on with it, they duck down behind the rocks after trying to escape for a while, and Frieza yells at Vegeta for treating him like a ragdoll. Frieza states that if he was allowed to fly in his golden form, he'd most likely be able to evade the two Universe 11 fighters. The Omni Kings listen in on this, and begin floating above their seats. Flying is cool. Golden flight is even cooler. And the Grand Priest makes an announcement that for the closing minutes of the Tournament of Power, flight is now allowed. Frieza smiles, and obviously because of the ring being destroyed in half in the last episode, it's becoming much harder for them to just keep jumping from rock to rock, as demonstrated by 17. But Frieza smiles, but Vegeta is still unsure about blowing their cover of location by appearing above the rocks, and flying would give off energy reading and leave them open. The Grand Priest announces the final minute of the tournament, and suddenly Toppo appears above the rock that they've been seeking cover. A throwback to the Namek arc when Vegeta was seeking out the hidden Krillin and Gohan, where they're trying not to get noticed by keeping their powers low. And suddenly, this time, Frieza grabs Vegeta's hand and they blast off into the distance at full evasive speed. And don't get the wrong idea, Vegeta, I simply want to be wished back to life, Frieza remarks as they fly off. They stop and try to read Jiren and Toppo's energy readings, and suddenly the Universe 11 fighters appear and strike both Vegeta and Frieza down to the ground. They immediately get back up and both begin to fly away, only this time they've separated from each other, so they've gone in different directions and they can't really, meet back up. But managing to keep the smallest gap, Frieza is being chased by Toppo and Vegeta is being chased by Jiren. They begin to notice that both Toppo and Jiren are falling behind. The weight of the fighters is bearing too much on their energy and is slowing them down. So that's kind of like a throwback to Trunks in his Ultra form, because we saw that Caulifla had the same thing when she did the Ultra transformation for a few seconds in the episode before.
Yeah.
And so Jiren stops realizing the chase... Jiren stops realizing the chase is futile and turns around to see Toppo chasing Frieza. So Jiren turns around and, realizing what's happening, heads toward Frieza to sandwich him between him and Toppo. And Vegeta's, knowing that retaliation is futile, stands back and just watches in dread, thinking, oh god, this is the end sort of thing. And this I wrote, and I really liked this, so I'm hoping you'll like this, and I'll get your comments in a second on this bit. But Frieza starts to travel in a different direction, foreseeing what is happening, and comes up with a plan. A smirk appears on his face, and Frieza holds his arms out to the side and turns around to face Toppo. Toppo looks surprised that he's looking at him, but does not let up the chase. Frieza brings up 2 Destructo discs and fires them behind toward Toppo. And Toppo avoids the discs and laughs, and Goku's seen on the bench and smiles smugly. Frieza directs another disc ahead at Jiren, and Jiren catches the disc and throws it back, i.e. what he did to Goku in the other episode. Frieza flies upward and avoids the caught disc. The disc scratches Toppo's face and he pauses in shock and amazement. So this is like a throwback to the Namek arc when Goku was fighting Frieza and he did that tactic with the discs. And I thought that would be a really cool thing. I mean, what do you think about that?
I love everything you're saying. Like I said in the beginning of this video, man, I love the whole flight situation there. Makes sense. We saw it in this episode, so I love that aspect to come back. That would be really cool, because what's Dragon Ball without flying, man? You know what I'm saying?
I know.
And then I love the reference to Namek. They've been making a lot of references to the Namek arc. Other references here and there, but most of their homages have been to very memorable scenes from the Namek arc. So again, adding that would be awesome. I mean, one of the closing moments of the Namek arc was that Destructo Disc showdown between Goku and Frieza. So to get that here again makes perfect sense, man. I'm loving this, dude.
Yeah, well, I think that it makes sense that Frieza would learn from what things have happened as well. I mean, I think it would be really detrimental to his character to suggest that he doesn't pick up on the things that have beaten him so far, you know?
Oh yeah, and it goes with his character too, because remember, I don't want to get too much into it, but it seems like from each fight, he kind of picks up something about what happened in the last fight. In the Namek fight, he didn't know how to sense ki. And the ROF fight, he knows how to sense ki. And even in certain translations, God ki, supposedly. I don't know how, but supposedly.
We won't get into that.
We won't get into that, but at least he picked up ki sensing abilities from his last fight. And then obviously with True Gold and Frieza, he picked up from his ROF fight the stamina issues and he fixed and corrected them. So yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, cool. So suddenly I've got like a bang, and Frieza kicks Toppo in the back of the head, and Toppo plummets toward the side of the arena with 5 seconds remaining. Frieza realizes he's made a miscalculation with his attack, and that Toppo would simply hit the remaining ground instead of land outside. Jiren arrives with a swift elbow to the back of Frieza's head, and he also plummets toward elimination. Miraculously, Vegeta appears out of nowhere and fires a big bang attack at the ground beneath where Toppo is about to land, and the ground crumbles like dust. In the last second, Toppo gets eliminated. But suddenly, Frieza also appears on the bench at the same time as Toppo, and the timer has officially expired on the tournament, and the Grand Priest declares it a tie, and he looks furious at this. The Omni Kings are arguing about the result, and Whis suggests, simply for spectating purposes, a temporal time do-over to rewatch the result. And the Grand Priests accept the idea, and with the Omni Kings calming down. This reveals that Frieza being eliminated after the timer had hit 0, meaning that Universe 7 had the most fighters remaining at the end of the match and therefore are victorious. And this would leave Vegeta and Frieza to discuss the wish. Vegeta agrees that if they revive Universe 6 with the Super Dragon Balls, they would keep their promise and revive Frieza with the Earth's Dragon Balls. Frieza contests using the Dragon Balls to resurrect a universe simply because it had monkeys in it. Vegeta and Frieza stare each other down, and Frieza suggests his wish would just be to rule in place of the Omni Kings, just like he promised at the beginning of the arc. Now, what do you think of this so far with the ending and the wish talk?
No, I like this a lot, and to go back to what we said in the beginning of this video, the idea of Frieza and Vegeta makes a lot of sense, because a lot of people at this point, bro, because it's super ending, people have come to, like, just realize that we're probably not going to get a lot of the stuff that we wanted, like a lot of the plot twists and stuff, and people have kind of just come to the idea that Goku's probably just gonna win, one-shot deal. So the idea that you're including Vegeta at the end, very cool. I like that. That would actually be a twist. And I also like the fact that Topo is still in, because you can kind of play up on the idea of Topo and Frieza, because of what happened in this episode. Topo calling Frieza trash and vice versa. And, you know, them being, you know, some of the last survivors before the tournament ends. I like that a lot. So I really like that you included that in. There's a lot of history there between those characters. Also, I love the fact that you went with the whole, let's do the whole slow motion. Let's see who was actually eliminated. I like that. It reminds me of the 2005 Rumble, bro. Remember when Vince McMahon tore his quads on? When they replayed the Batista and John Cena. I like that. I like that a lot. So I like how you're doing that. I'm really enjoying that. But overall, I'm liking this. It isn't exactly what I would do, but I'm liking the fact that you went this route.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's nice that we all have different opinions, because I'll be able to get yours in a second on it and what you would possibly do as well. Because the thing that I have always thought since the very beginning of this arc is the fact that there is a timer involved. Now, there hasn't been a timer in any other tournament in Dragon Ball, so the only reason it's there is a plot device to make Jiren look strong and Universe 7 not look weak by getting eliminated, and that's the only thing that I can think of. I don't see any other evidence to suggest that we're actually going to see a winner, because the timer is running low, you know? There would be no purpose for the tournament, because we've got very few fighters remaining at this point. So clearly, if they wanted to, they could just, if they were going to give us a decisive winner, they would just give us a decisive winner with no mention of a timer whatsoever. You know, I don't see there being a point to having a timer. I understand a lot of people would be pissed if there is that kind of finish, because of course that would suggest it's like having a count out in wrestling when you have no decisive winner. But I like the fact that I tried to incorporate some form of strategy into why they win, if you get what I mean, rather than out of being power. But,
oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, I dig it.
So, just to head back to that now. So, Beerus overhears and is furious by the suggestion of Frieza wanting to rule in place of the Omni Kings. He approaches Frieza and suggests that he takes the offer of being wished back to life with the Earth's Dragon Balls. If it were up to him, he'd Akai him right now without any remorse for what he did during the tournament. And Goku appears. I have an idea, Frieza. I know where you can go, where you can become the Omni King. And Frieza's interested. Goku says, just go along with it, and the wish he promises he'll sort out. Frieza claims he has nothing left to lose, being already dead, and just accepts it. They continue with the wish, and the Pride Troopers approach Vegeta. I've gone with the idea that the Pride Troopers haven't been eliminated, and Universe 11 hasn't been erased just yet, kind of thing, because of the, obviously with the lack of definitive ending at the very end, it wasn't an immediate erasure. So Topo comes forward. The fight was superb, and knowing you would use the wish so selflessly is worthy of a Pride Trooper's respect. In the name of justice, and Vegeta smiles smugly, and Topo and the rest of Universe 11 get erased. Vegeta looks down. I can't believe that I, the Prince of All Saiyans, somebody who once destroyed entire civilizations, is feeling guilt for the death of all these universes, knowing that the only reason he's alive is because he ran from his strongest opponent yet, like a coward. Goku puts his hand on his shoulder and smiles. We can't go on without knowing how to get as strong as Jiren, can we? Just wish them all back. And Vegeta gasps in shock. Is that even possible? And Whis confirms that with the Super Dragon Balls, they can carry out wishes that the standard Dragon Balls cannot do. Vegeta wishes for all the universes to be revived, and with all the universes popping back into existence, Toppo and Jiren are surprised to be alive and realize that Universe 7 have revived all the universes. And Toppo approaches Goku. I was wrong. Justice is served, and thank you. Cabba runs toward Vegeta and hugs him. Vegeta looks uncomfortable and shouts at him, back off, Saiyans don't hug, and smiles at Cabba. Jiren then approaches Goku. I want to fight again. Goku approaches Jiren. I want to fight again. Jiren is silent and ignores Goku. Goku laughs and just turns around to walk off, and Jiren just says warriors, once again without eye contact, and Universe 7 can be seen smiling as they walk away. Beerus and Champa now talking. Champa is in shock that they had him revived. You know that I wouldn't have wished you back, right? And proceeds to stick his tongue out again towards Beerus. That makes Beerus angry, and Beerus laughs. Champa walks off with Caulifla and Kale on his arms and promises them amazing things if they fuse and train and fight as Kefla again in future. And that's pretty much how I write off Universe 6 in this and the other universes, and then we start to head back towards the Earth. So what do you think about the wishes and stuff?
No, I like that. Again, going back to the beginning of this video, I like the revelation of Vegeta kind of coming to terms that he couldn't actually defeat Jiren head on in the fight. You know what I mean? And having to use strategy to get the best of him. Now,
yeah.
Here's one thing though, because I understand. I'm okay with it if done right, and going off of how you said it, I could buy that, especially with what happened in the manga, which I'll get to in a second, but I know a lot of people probably aren't going to be happy with bringing back every universe, because a lot of people are probably going to say it's going to make the arc feel, you know,
pointless,
pointless, but however, though, there is something that I would like to bring up. In the manga, and one of the not the recent chapter, but one of the recent chapters, it is mentioned that Jiren doesn't want to even participate in the tournament because he doesn't want to be the cause of other universes getting erased. And Toppo mentions to him, well, what about our universe? We're going to get erased. Yeah. And he's like, well, then it's our fate then. And I think you can kind of headcanon maybe that's why he didn't want to fight / eliminate people in this tournament, because he didn't want to be directly cause for the erasure of these universes. Like how Gohan was. You remember how Gohan felt the guilt of beating Obani in
Universe 9.
Yeah. So, I can see maybe that being a reason why Jiren didn't even want to participate in this. So with that being said, if they do wish back all the universes, that does tie into what you're saying about how they come to respect Son Goku and even Vegeta after this, you know what I mean? Or respect Universe 7 themselves and that they were wrong about them and justice is served. So from a story point of view, at least from what we've been told from before, I think it does make sense, but I can see people being pissed off about it. But I mean, it's whatever, bro. At this point in time, we have to come to realization that we're not gonna get the plot twist of the angels. We're not gonna get Frieza as this ultimate villain, you know, and we're not gonna get any of this stuff. So we have to come to realization that this arc's probably gonna end in a semi-quasi happy way that ain't gonna please everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's only so much they can do anyway. The problem with setting it between Boo and the end of Z is because there was a lot of comments and stuff that they make when they meet all up again, such as, like, you know, there hasn't been a major threat on the planet and stuff since Boo. And so, obviously, they've done their job so far at making Goku Black only appear for a minute when Goku trashed him, and then they ended up going to Trunks' timeline to have their fight, which plays in line with that. And all these other fights have happened in other places. So they have stuck to that pretty much. You know, if you don't include Beerus, because Beerus actually ended up being, like, you know, a protagonist rather than an antagonist. So, like, I think that there's only so much they can do where it doesn't actually inflict Earth particularly, if you get what I mean. So, but obviously with the Omni King, sort of because it keeps being suggested to us that the universes were going to be erased, and Goku is actually given them a way to survive by suggesting the Tournament of Power. So, with the idea of them bringing them back to life with the Dragon Balls, actually doesn't necessarily make the tournament irrelevant, because they are actually all being able to survive, if you get what I mean, from Goku's decision and Vegeta's decision, rather than just being erased for the sake of it, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So anyway, just to pretty much wrap this up, we return to Earth, and Vegeta hugs Bulma and his baby and all that happy stuff. Frieza approaches Goku. Now, about this promise you made me about being Omni King, You better not double-cross me. Goku laughs. Oh yeah, I got just the plan. Bulma, can you do me a favor? Can you construct a new time machine? Frieza looks baffled and Bulma looks horrified at the idea. She doesn't have a book anymore, so she's going to have to put a lot of time into it. But eventually, they get the time machine set up. Frieza's had to crash at Capsule Corp for a while, which I think is hilarious. But then Goku then takes Frieza to Trunks' dead timeline that the Omni King destroyed and was floating there when Goku went and picked him up. Goku takes him there and just ditches Frieza and goes, there you go, you're in charge now, do what you like, bye, and then disappears back in a time machine. And Goku just travels back, leaving Frieza in that redundant timeline. And Frieza's just looking around at all that white and all those little pink and yellow dots, and he's just kind of like, there's nothing here. What? Like, this isn't better than hell. And then suddenly he realizes that there's nothing and nobody at all. He looks furious and he's like, curse you, Saiyan. Then once more, he's been absolutely shafted by Goku. But then, all of a sudden we hear this, ugh, finally some company. I never thought I'd be glad to see a mortal again. And Zamasi's face just appears in the white nothingness and looks at Frieza. You know, originally my Zero Mortals plan didn't seem so lonely in the end. Frieza sighs and it zooms out to the end of the episode in the arc, and that's how I was ending it pretty much. I didn't go into how it would all end on Earth, because I'm sure we'll probably get like a filler episode or something at the end of the arc to kind of happy-go-lucky stuff, you know. But that's all I'd pretty much written. I know that Zamasu technically would have been erased with the universe, but considering the fact that Omni King was still floating there when Goku went and picked it up means that we still don't understand the full extent of erasing a universe or a timeline. So I figured it could be open to interpretation, but what do you think?
I think that is hilarious. I would love to see it animated. I know a lot of people probably wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
I know. I love that. When you mentioned him sleeping at Capsule Corp or crashing there, that is hilarious. I'm just imagining, and this has to be your thumbnail. I'm imagining Frieza making waffles like in the Capsule Corp kitchen. I don't know why. I don't know.
It's just the thing that, like, obviously Frieza knows that he can't start irritating all the Universe 7 people because Goku's got this plan for him and Bulma's making it a possibility. And Frieza's been, you know, for the last couple of hours been dealing with everybody kind of thing. So he thinks, what is it if I just wait a couple hours more? Obviously he doesn't have much longer because he's only got a day left on Earth. But if he's taken to a different timeline, a different universe, like, as it were, what happens? Like, would he end up expiring and going to Earth's hell, but in that place, you know? I hadn't decided whether they wish him back with the Dragon Balls before they do that or whatever. I just figured it would be funny, you know. I wasn't looking too much in depth, but yeah.
No, I love it, man. I really do love that. And obviously, yeah, I think the general assumption is that we're probably gonna get like a filler episode. I don't think so, to be honest. But I mean, like, I love what you said. Very comedic, well thought out. I would really like to see all this animated. But it's so funny because my opinion on how this arc's going to end is like a complete 180 from how yours is going to.
Well, the thing is, I sat there and I was like, look, the fundamental core of it, Super is a comedy. Dragon Ball has always been a comedy at its core, you know?
Oh, and yeah, like, definitely.
I think because of that, and they can't end such a drastically perilous and, let's be honest, morbid arc. The premise of having to kill all the other universes for their own survival. It is a morbid premise, and they can't kill off Dragon Ball Super with that. It has to end somehow comedically, you know? And like with Beerus and Champa's relationship, you can't tie it up, and you can't be like, okay, well, then they get on in the end kind of thing. They're always going to have their little squabbling rivalry and everything, so we're always going to have the Champa just kind of going, you know, that I wouldn't have done the same thing for you, right? And then sort of sticks his tongue out again. And I think with all that kind of stuff, like, it has to be funny in some way. It has to be lighthearted. I think one of the reasons I was really angry at the end of the Universe 6 arc is because it really did make it redundant when Beerus wished for the planet for Champa. So when he made his own Earth for him, like resurrected it, it really did make that arc meaningless. However, with now the Tournament of Power one, if they were to wish back the other universes, because they were actually facing deletion beforehand, because they were facing deletion beforehand, it's kind of like now it actually serves a purpose because they would have been erased, but now that they've had the Tournament of Power and that they've fixed it, and like, you know, Universes 7's wish was to keep the universes, the Omni Kings just kind of go, why not? You know, they have a laissez-faire attitude. They're just going to go along with it, I think. So, but seeing as yours is a 180, have you got any like brief assumptions as what you're going to make, or
a brief summary? All right, mine's very bleak. Episode 126, Topo and Vegeta get taken out. Told you, complete 180, man. So 126, Topo and Vegeta self-sacrifice. They both go out. 127, Jiren takes out 17. 128, Goku awakens Ultra Instinct for the third time. Ultra Instinct versus Jiren up until episode 130. Frieza comes in between 129 and 130. Tries to get a sneak attack on Jiren. Jiren ends up taking him out, KO. That's it. At this point in time, everything's looking very, very bleak. Like, things are looking horrifyingly bleak. And Goku shoots a Kamehameha, like his last Kamehameha with everything in it. Jiren tanks it, and I don't want to use the word tank, but like the smoke clears and everything, right? Everyone thinks that. Everyone thinks Goku won because it's like the first time, bro, from the special. He shot the Kamehameha, but once everything's cleared out, Goku's breathing heavy. Yeah. He's already out of his Ultra Instinct form. He's back in base. And then Jiren's still there when the smoke clears. And then Jiren's actually pretty beat up, though. Like, his thing's all tore up, kind of like Topo. Not completely tore up, but still tore up and damaged his outfit. And then Goku just kind of smirks, and then he does the Jackie Chun stuff, bro, where he falls on his back. Boom. And then Jiren walks over to him, grabs him, puts him over his shoulders, walks to the edge, drops him off out of respect. Then this is, I said, 180, bro. Universe 7 gets erased, and Jiren's wish, even though I'm not a fan of it, it still would be character development. He puts away his selfish wish. Like, he's not selfish, and he puts away his own wish. Wishes back Universe 7. Universe 7 comes back, and you know what that means. This arc, in my version, would end with all the universes being erased. That means Universe 6. That means people's favorite characters like Kaba, Hit, and Kel, and Cauliflower. They're gone. Champa. Now, that's very, very bleak. Like, that's some very dark stuff. Now, as far as how I would end that stuff, I would do like what you said with the respect between Goku, Vegeta, Frieza, and everybody, and Jiren and Topo, right? Them kind of like honoring, the warriors and stuff like that. Of course, Jiren's a bit more subtle about it, and then they they leave and everyone goes home. Now, how I would wrap up the whole Frieza stuff is, even since they lost, Frieza doesn't get his wish anymore. The deal's off. But since he was such a big help against Jiren, he caused some openings for Goku. He helped eliminate Aniraza. Since he was such a big help, Goku actually does the whole, puts his hand behind his head. Gee, Frieza, if you want, I can bring you back still. You know what I mean? And Frieza smirks. And this is something that Real True actually told me, so props to him for saying this. Frieza smirks, looks at Goku and says, "I don't need a monkey's help." And he walks off with Baba because the golden form ran out of his time. So he leaves with Baba. And that's how we end off Frieza. And the reason why I would do it like that is because, for one, even though we didn't get to see his motivations come to light, he was still helpful. Without Frieza, they wouldn't have been able to take care of some people, like I mentioned earlier, Aniraza and Dispo. So he was still useful. And secondly, he's still such a prick. You know what I mean? Calling Goku a monkey and being Frieza to the core. And this is where I said, well, complete 180, bro. It does not end. It does not end with the filler episode. 131 is that last episode. 131 is the episode where Frieza walking off with Baba. Goku and is having a conversation with Whis and Beerus. Whis mentions if he wants to come back and train with them, because remember, that's how this arc started. He went to go train with them. And Goku says, no. And he looks back and he sees Pan and he sees Goten, and then Whis kind of smirks because he gets the idea there. And what I'm going with that is, in previous episodes, it was mentioned that Goku was so involved in other universes that he forgot what was right here on Earth. It was mentioned during the 17 episode, and it was mentioned with the Gohan episode. So I think the idea that Goku comes to the realization that he doesn't need to be training with gods, and he doesn't need to be trying to find people from other universes, people like Pan, Goten, and Uber right there on Earth, and he can stay with them. And before, this is so right before Whis leaves, taps the ground, fixes up Goku's gi, but you know what it already is. It's the blue gi. And that's how it ends with Goku walking towards Capsule Corp.